What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you back on Fantasy Pros, where we will be doing a 12-team standard scoring draft with the second overall pick. So one quarterback, two RBs, two wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and then 5 bench spots. This is our first standard mock draft, probably of the season, so it should be pretty interesting as we get into this. And while we load, a quick reminder, if you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, and give us a follow as well on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. But in the meantime, it is our turn to make a selection, and with the second pick overall, it's pretty simple. We pretty much have our choice of players of everyone other than Christian McCaffrey, and that's all right, because the player that I'm looking at here is Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, even though, yes, Derrick Henry is incredibly valuable in standard scoring, Dalvin Cook, I do believe, has a little bit of a higher floor due to his pass-catching ability. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm going to go for here. He is my number 2 running back across standard, full-point PPR, half-point PPR formats. So I have zero problem taking Dalvin Cook here. And, running back is really the only possibility. It would be ludicrous to go wide receiver or anything else this early on. And let's see how this thing plays out here in the second round. I'm very curious to see how the first and second rounds went here. We can check that out here via our draft board. And as we take a look at it, we'll give you our thoughts on some of these picks. Derrick Henry, that makes a lot of sense with the 103. Saquon Barkley with the 104 makes a lot of sense as well. Jonathan Taylor, 105, sure. Alvin Kamara at the 106, a little bit, probably too high in my opinion. I'd rather have Ezekiel Elliott in front of him. I'd be considering Nick Chubb in front of him. Tyreek Hill is the first wide receiver off the board, does make sense. He is more of that standard suited wide receiver, has higher play upside, et cetera, compared to someone like a Devontae Adams, especially with those Rodgers rumors circulating right now. Then, like we said, Nick Chubb, Cam Akers, very early on in the first round. This is the earliest I have seen Cam Akers go. That is intriguing. Then you see Devontae Adams, Ezekiel Elliott, Aaron Jones, good value on Zeke. Najee Harris with the first pick in the second round. I think that is absolutely insane. No way, even in standard formats, you should be selecting Najee Harris this early on. The Steelers still have an offensive line problem, and they've got wide receivers aplenty there. This is a pick that makes me very nervous. I hate it, and there's so many other running backs that I would take ahead of Najee Harris. So, looking at these other picks, Metcalf, Stephon Diggs, no problem there. Gibson, A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, Kelsey, Kittle, Jacobs, Hopkins. Hopkins at the end of the second round would have been pretty good value. Josh Jacobs, again, I do think it's a little bit of a reach considering the addition of Kenyon Drake. So now looking at who is still available, I think that this becomes a pretty easy selection if I had to be honest with you guys. Joe Mixon is available still. Austin Eckler is still available. And Eckler is definitely, obviously a PPR type of running back. So I understand Joe Mixon being ranked ahead of him. Right now, my perfect scenario is probably getting Joe Mixon and then Austin Eckler in the second and third round, respectively. Yes, that will undoubtedly put us behind the 8 ball at the wide receiver position. If I went running back and wide receiver here, I'd probably go with, looking at the list, a Michael Thomas, who I do think is underrated. Since I already do have Dalvin Cook, I don't want to go too heavy on the Minnesota offense with Justin Jefferson. Allen Robinson is also a possibility, but how confident do you feel in Robinson with Andy Dalton potentially being the starter for Chicago a little bit longer? So that's a question mark. Keenan Allen, definitely a much more PPR-suited type of wide receiver. So it's an intriguing situation. And I think I'm just going to go running back heavy here. I'm going to go with Joe Mixon first and then see what happens afterwards. So we'll go Joe Mixon here. And then the next 2 picks were J.K. Dobbins and Justin Jefferson. I will say Joe Mixon at the end of the second round, even though it's standard scoring, he's never been a huge pass catcher. And with Giovanni Bernard now gone, it's, his situation only gets better. So I think that's very good value on Joe Mixon on our end. And now, again, the question we need to answer here is, do we want to go Austin Eckler or a wide receiver? I'm not even thinking about quarterback. That would be insane. The reason I'm kind of hesitant on the wide receiver is with Allen Robinson, what we highlighted about Fields versus Dalton. With Mike Evans, Chris Godwin is still there. If he's fully healthy, Antonio Brown back, I think this is way too early to draft him. Keenan Allen, similar situation with Austin Eckler. He's much more PPR suited. And if you're going to go that route, I might as well go a running back. Julio Jones, is he going to be back in Atlanta? Again, Michael Thomas is the guy that I really personally like. I don't think he will make it back to us in the fourth round. I think that would be just way too much, even though I think he is being really undervalued at this point in time. I'm just going to go with a running back here. I think Austin Eckler is someone that even in standard leagues is going to be all right. Obviously, he'd be more valuable in full PPR scoring, but I believe that at this point in the third round, it's just a very good value. He's still the main running back for the Chargers, so I have no problem with this selection. Now, let's see what we have at our disposal here and whether we make the right choices, because it's going to be a tough sledding here at this point in time. Wide receiver, like we predicted, there was a run on them. You see Mike Evans, Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, Kenny Golladay, and then in the fourth round, Julio Jones. If he stays in Atlanta, that's very good value for Julio Jones. Darren Waller went in the third round. Mark Andrews went in the third round. I would still be drafting Mark Andrews, as a top 5 tight end, especially in standard scoring, but not in the third round. Then you see DeAndre Swift in the fourth round. That makes sense. He's projected to be more of a PPR type of scoring running back. Chris Carson in the fourth, very good value. I didn't think that he would get back to me. So, if we had gone wide receiver instead of Eckler, that would have been tough. Then Chris Godwin, DJ Moore, and then probably, it's not even us, but the biggest steal of the draft, Michael Thomas, towards the end of the fourth round. That is amazing value. I know he's regarded more as a, big target guy and, maybe PPR suited, but I think as the main guy in New Orleans, and especially if it's Jameis Winston under center, Michael Thomas will still be, very viable and a safe wide receiver number one. I'd rather have him above Evans, Robinson, McLaurin, Keenan Allen, Kelly Golladay, Chris Godwin, DJ Moore. So pretty much everyone. So very high on him. Then we go to who is still available. And now, looking at the wide receivers, I'm hoping that I can get the combo of Adam Thielen and Amari Cooper. And looking at who Team 1 already has, I think it's probably pretty likely that they go wide receiver with one of their 2 picks. They already have Justin Jefferson, but this is a computer making a selection, so I don't think the chances of necessarily Adam Thielen not being selected are all that high or all that low. It's pretty random. But I like Amari Cooper. I also like a Deontay Johnson. I've already got, obviously, Dalvin Cook. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Amari Cooper first. He'd be one of my selections to begin with. And then if Adam Thielen is there, then I will consider him along with another player in Deontay Johnson. So right now, Team 1 took Odell and then Travis Etienne. I thought they would probably go 2 wide receivers, something like that. But this puts us in a good situation. We went Dalvin Cook, Mixon, Eckler, now Amari Cooper. I don't mind Amari Cooper as a standard type of scoring wide receiver. Dalvin Cook, we already do have. It'd be really going in on the Minnesota offense. And with Justin Jefferson kind of emerging, I am a little bit nervous with Adam Thielen. I'm looking at the other name that I mentioned, Deontay Johnson. It's probably going to be the direction that I go in, just kind of diversify the roster a little bit. I'm potentially looking at TJ Hawkinson, but he is more suited as a PPR type of tight end. That's the thing that makes me a little bit nervous. Robert Tonyan could be, someone that I probably target at the tight end position instead. High touchdown upside, something like that. So I'm definitely going wide receiver here, and it's probably going to be Deontay Johnson. Look, neither Thielen nor Deontay Johnson are going to get back to me, so I'm just going to go with Deontay Johnson at this point in time. I think he is the clear-cut number one wide receiver based on what we saw for the Pittsburgh Steelers last year, and he's got that high upside, big playability, so we'll go with Deontay Johnson here over Adam Thielen. This will potentially be that pick that it's kind of the tipping point, if you will, of what could have been. But let's take a look at the selections afterwards and see how we stack up and our roster as well. So we obviously went with Deontay Johnson, then Kareem Hunt, Kenyon Drake, definitely more PPR suited running backs go. Adam Thielen, great value on him. Allen, Melvin Gordon, Myles Gaskin, good value on Myles Gaskin. CeeDee Lamb, TJ Hawkinson, not bad value on Hawkinson. Brendan Ayuk, Devonta Smith. Early on these, rookie wide receivers, taking Devonta Smith and Jamar Chase above some of the wide receivers that are still there. That's very intriguing, especially with Devonta Smith. I can understand Jamar Chase to some extent, but Tyler Lockett is still on the board. That is great value in the 6th round, in my opinion. Yes, he's kind of inconsistent, has those big games and then kind of disappears, but I'm all right taking a chance on him, considering he's going to be our wide receiver number 3. I love the way that this is playing out with Tyler Lockett. So let's go and add him to the squad. And then if Cooper Kupp makes it to us as well, I'm adding Cooper Kupp without hesitation at all. You can make the case that, okay, we should be going quarterback because there's going to be a run right at this point in time. I guarantee you that. But I do believe Cooper Kupp is just more valuable. If something happens to Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp's value is going to skyrocket. And again, assuming he's healthy, I think he's going to produce good numbers. He's the wide receiver by far that I'm the most excited about at this point in time. I think he's got top 20 upside. So I'm very happy to get him at this point in time. Add him to the bench. I love that pick. And now let's see what happens at the quarterback position, because that is the next position that we kind of have to address. Tight end as well. That should be noted. We've kind of ignored that position to go with other just, I think, better overall players instead. Robert Tonyan is available to us, and I kind of alluded to it before that that's probably going to be the direction that I go in. So Team 1, as you can see, already has a quarterback. They already have a tight end, so I don't think they're going to be going in that direction. So here we've got, I think, guaranteed that we can go a quarterback and then a tight end. So I'll get my tight end first. I'll get Robert Tonyan. Dallas Goedert is intriguing. I feel much better about Goddard if Zach Ertz was released or traded, but right now that hasn't happened. So, I'd probably have Goddard a little bit lower on my ranking. So I'll go Tonyan here. Yes, it's a bit of a risk because, sure that Aaron Rodgers, it's not 100% he's back with the Packers, but again, even though I think he will be, that could potentially throw a wrench in all this. And you saw that, marking that, Tonyan could have been available at our next pick. Well, no, duh. It's only 2 selections between our next pick. So here I'm just going to go with Joe Burrow, getting our quarterback position set as well. Brandon Cooks, I will say, is kind of tempting, but I just want to quickly see if every other team has a quarterback, and they actually do. So I believe, let me quickly check it. Yeah, so this is where, something as simple as this, just checking everybody else's roster, can kind of play into your advantage, and you can allow yourself to go another position, and that's what I'm going to do with Brendan Cooks. I think he's got upside. Yes, it's risky if Deshaun Watson doesn't play, but at this point in time, I'd be going Joe Burrow either way, so it's not really all that bad of a pick because I'm going to have Joe Burrow at the next round looking at my opposition's rosters, and definitely advise everybody else when they're drafting to do the same thing. So we're going to land Joe Burrow here. I like the upside that he has. Pair him up with Joe Mixon, a nice little stack there. Yes, it doesn't mean as much because obviously this isn't PPR scoring. So those receptions that Joe Mixon would be getting aren't counted, but still. Now we go into the situation of looking if potentially there are some running backs that we can get to handcuff. And I'm looking at Alexander Madison. I think we can get him a little bit later on, but I definitely want to get him as a handcuff to Dalvin Cook. And again, we'll probably get a lower grade because we can do that later on. But for the sake of this mock draft and for the sake of the exercise and pointing out to you guys that when you have a handcuff like Alexander Madison and a running back like Dalvin Cook, if he goes down, it's Alexander Madison without a doubt to take over those duties. So that's what I would do there. But first, because I do think he's going to be available to us, I'll instead go with another player that I really like. I continue to say this, Antonio Brown. So you're going to see a lot of these mock drafts and probably see some similar names. You know, guys like Antonio Brown, guys like Brendan Cooks, who at this point in the draft are just, you know, low risk but very high reward type of players. I like that with Antonio Brown. He's got, you know, I could argue just as much upside as Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. So I like that pick. Now let's see if Alexander Madison gets to us. If not, I mean, it's all right. We can pick somebody else. So, you know, maybe it was a little bit of, so, okay, that's, if you want to, you know, deduct us a couple points here on this draft because Alexander Madison does go with the pick actually right after us. So that's kind of intriguing because Madison without Dalvin Cook is, you know, really a tough sell on your roster and not one that I'd really be interested in. But it is what it is, you know, kind of learn from it and instead, again, just address another position. We could go running back, but I'm not seeing anyone that I really like. I'm looking at wide receiver, and there are a couple names here that I don't mind. Marvin Jones with the Jaguars. I don't think the separation between him and DJ Shark will be all that much, to be honest with you guys. We could go with another tight end, someone like a Logan Thomas. That's definitely a possibility. So those are probably my top two choices right now. I'm not going to be going another quarterback. So Logan Thomas or Marvin Jones. I'm looking at our wide receiver depth, and our bench is literally all wide receivers. So I'm just probably going to go with Logan Thomas here. It's not going to be as highly graded of a pick based on the calculator of FantasyPros, but I think it makes more sense when you look at our bench. Running backs, yes, we don't have too much depth on the bench, but we already have three starting running backs, Eckler, Mixon, and Dalvin Cook. So I like how this played out. I'm curious to see what type of grade we get here once we conclude this. And we get a B, you know, and considering that this is a 12-team league, I actually think that's pretty good. And as far as what I think we got, I kind of agree with it. You know, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, great value on Joe Mixon. Our wide receivers, you know, our starting wide receivers could be better, no doubt about it, but they both have low-end wide receiver 1 upside, high-end wide receiver 2 upside, and then we did a tremendous job of getting wide receivers later on as depth pieces on the bench, and I'm not too mad about it because we got Austin Eckler in the third round, so I really like the way this went. Tight end could be better, so, you know, for the most part, I agree with this grade. I think our bench is sensational. You could argue all those guys are starters. That's why I would potentially give this a little bit of a higher grade, you know, maybe a B+. But I really like the team. I would probably add one more quarterback if this was a couple rounds longer just to give us, again, a depth piece in case Joe Burrow does struggle. But let me know what you guys thought in the comment section. Did you agree, disagree? Along with any other questions you guys might have, I will do my best to answer them. And if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. Also, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.